A Puppy Tale. The two spaniels stared at each other in disbelief. It was like looking in a mirror. For the one, a very clean mirror. For the other, kind of scuzzy. They exchanged the mandatory sniffs to confirm it wasn't a mirror, then got very excited as a long-lost familiarity began to kick in. Their tails wildly wagged the word brother. How long had it been? 2 years? Which, of course, means 14 years in whoever came up with this anyway dog math. It seemed like a lifetime ago when they ran together in that tiny yard at the puppy farm. They playfully zipped and yipped and nipped till Mom would yelp them back in day after day. Then the stranger came. He seemed nice enough at first. Oh, he was all smiles and good boys and head pats and tummy rubs, until a quick handshake, and then he came with a couple of collars and leashes. As a collar was being buckled on one brother, the other took a quick assessment of his impending capture and decided to make a break for it. With surprising speed for a puppy, he bolted through the open gate and headed into the woods. He ran and ran till he could hear no one chasing him, and breathlessly skid to a stop. Finding a fallen log he could hide behind, he kept watch until he slipped asleep. The captured brother put up some resistance, since he'd never been collared before, and he'd never been off the farm, and that seemed exactly what the stranger had in mind. But the stranger gave him a treat and pet him till he felt much calmer about whatever would happen next. And with that, he was put into a wire cage in the back seat of the stranger's car. He whimpered for quite a while, till the excitement of the day gave way to the rhythm of the road, and he slept. The brother in the woods woke up near evening. He was hungry, but the familiar food bowl was far back at the farm, along with any water and welcome nuzzles from Mom. He wandered through the woods and fields, exploring every new smell, hoping to find something he could eat. A pond appeared, and he happily lapped and lapped from kind of a slippery bank. It wasn't clear and tasty like the water at home, but at this point it was wet. Now, if he could just find some food. After an all too short nap, the other puppy's car ride ended at what he thought must be a different planet. Instead of old broken down farmhouses surrounded by fields of grass so long that it stung your face to run through, he saw beautiful new homes surrounded by short grass that was so green it had to be painted. "Here's your new home," the man exclaimed as he clipped a leash on the collar and released him from the cage. They walked through the grass toward the front door, and it felt soft and cool to his puppy paw pads. He danced a little sideways as he trotted, which made the man laugh. "We're going to be great friends," the man said in a very welcoming tone. Inside the house, the man brought him to a small room near the back door, where there were 2 large black crates. The crates each had a water dish inside and a new bowl outside, which was quickly filled with food. "I'm sad that your brother didn't want to join us," said the man as the puppy gulped up the food. "Maybe we'll find him later," he mused. "But for now, it'll just be the 2 of us." When the food bowl was empty, the back door was opened, and the puppy, still equipped with collar and leash, ran out into a great green paradise surrounded by a shiny white fence. He was running and jumping and autographing every tree. He introduced himself to every squirrel with his best "Don't ever let me catch you here again" barks. The grass was perfect for rolling, and the sun seemed to smile as it set, as his first new day ended softly on a pillow inside his new safe space. The woods offered no food for the hungry puppy, and the pond was now far behind him as he resigned himself to finding a safe place to sleep. He finally found another fallen log and curled up next to it, trying to ignore all the new night sounds that competed to keep him awake. He fought for sleep and dreamed of food. "Good morning, sleepyhead," the man's voice kind of startled the puppy awake. "How about some breakfast?" he asked as he filled the food bowl and freshened his water. Although the puppy didn't realize it yet, this was the beginning of a routine that would continue every day for the next several months. After breakfast was successfully snarfed, he was given some exercise time in the backyard, where he checked out all the trees for messages and updated his own information. Having raced and rolled and run every villainous squirrel back up the trees where they belong, he was brought back indoors for something called training. Here the man taught the puppy exactly how to respond to certain commands. While the pup could have almost complete freedom during his playtimes, no digging up the grass, of course, he'd be rigidly required to respond correctly when these certain commands were given. So the man started in to show his new recruit just exactly what to do when he was commanded to sit. Whenever the puppy got it right, he'd be showered with affection and a special treat. Eventually, the pup became quite the expert, not only at sitting, but at staying, heeling, laying down, and even speaking, although his vocabulary was a bit limited. He would also respond to "come here," "stop jumping up," and "stop speaking." And although learning complete obedience wasn't always fun and never felt free, the man kept telling him how important it was for the puppy's own good, and he made it doable. Plus, spending so much time together was the pup's favorite part of his new life, and it seemed like the man enjoyed that time as much as he did. Sometimes the training sessions included times outside the fence. Leashed together like best friends, they'd adventure from one neighborhood to another. There were way too many trees to stop at, but the new sights and smells painted a big, beautiful world in the puppy's young mind. The man sometimes even let the pup wander alone outside the fence, as long as he stayed close to home. Yes, life was good. Even though he missed his mom and his brother, the pup felt like he was growing up strong and smart and enjoying his time with his new best friend. Months in the woods included learning a lot of lessons for the other pup, too. He became quite the expert at locating trash cans at local farms that could be tipped over for possible food. He also learned not to bother black kitties that had wide white stripes. Streams tasted better than ponds, and some animals were slow enough to catch. Some were a waste of effort. And the biggest lesson of all, of course, everyone's an enemy. There are no friends in the woods. It was a very hard life. Always on guard, no friends, sleeping out in the cold, constantly foraging for food, and the freedom that he prized so much seemed less and less free every day. It was on one of those forays for food that led him to wander from the relative safety of the woods one day to the who-know-what danger among some beautiful homes that he'd recently discovered. He had high hopes for food scraps in the long line of garbage cans by the roads. As he slinked along from bush to bush, he noticed that mirror across the sidewalk. He raced out to meet it nose to nose and brought on the beginning burst of, "Brother?" They were so glad to see each other. They danced around, sniffing and wagging and happily barking. The one asked the other if he was okay because he looked so scrawny and smelled so not okay. And the troubles and hardships of living in the woods kind of faded from his memory as he assured his brother that he was fine, that he had so many exciting adventures, that there was nothing like being free. While the other brother kind of compared what he was hearing with the way his brother looked, and began to tell him how great it was living with the man. He told him how they'd become great friends and about the nice place he had to live and the food and the squirrels. It was at that moment that he heard a familiar whistle from home that meant dinner time. He wagged and nuzzled and nipped and yipped as he begged his brother to stay. But all the brother could see was the collar. And nothing his brother could say could change his mind. He tried to convince his brother to come on adventures with him. How the world was so much more fun when you're free. But the matted, dirty hair and the smell and the skinny ribs spoke louder than his tempting tales. So his brother gave him one last long nuzzle and turned to trot toward home. And as his brother turned back toward the woods, the loneliness and misery kind of snapped back into focus, like they'd been hiding for as long as they possibly could. And the pain that had really become his closest friend wrapped its arms around him again, welcoming him back toward the freedom of being lost and alone. He stopped and gripped his head between his paws as he wrestled and challenged everything he believed about freedom. "Lies," he finally barked out. "I'm tired of being lonely. I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of being hungry. I'm tired of running." He immediately jumped up and let out a couple of sharp, loud barks in his brother's direction, which brought the distant dog to a stop. He dug his back paws in and launched into a full-out run to catch up to his new life, collar and all.